Hello, and welcome back to the Sad Fan. We talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made you sad from the previous week. Well, we're going to get into something that's still going on right now as we talk about what made us sad this week. And what it really is that makes us sad this week over at the Sad Fan is that we can't be in the United States with all of you while one of the coolest events in all of sports is going on, which is, of course, March Madness. It's one of my favorite times of year. I only have one bracket working this year, but it's working well for me. And I know a lot of you probably have multiple brackets working. It's the best time of year. And the reason why it's the best time of year is it's a time when we all get together and bet on something we know nothing about. We know nothing about the NCAA tournament. Maybe you know a little bit about your team, but everyone else, all the seedings, all 64, you don't know anything about them. The first four in, the first four out, you know nothing that's going on right now. So really, you're just going on vibes. And that's kind of cool to know that a large amount of America, when we need it the most, is just going on vibes as it pertains to the NCAA tournament. And while in the NIL era, it's been a majority chalk, right? It has been chalk. There have been 1, 2, or 3 upsets. Now, McNC State, they had a big upset in round 1 over Clemson, and then they went on to lose, which is sad because we know that Will is leaving his team at the end of this year. He's going to go coach somewhere else. And to see him and how emotional he got in the locker room after that game, after that loss to Purdue, it was interesting to see how it is that everything is landing as far as, hey, this is the final run with a team that was the only team that would take a chance on him. So that is a story in itself. What was fun for me was yesterday in the round of 32, not just Purdue knocking out McNC State, the team that probably had the biggest upset of the day. The other games, the Memphis-Colorado State game wasn't really an upset to anybody. And again, like, no one knows anything, right? None of us really know what we're talking about. We're doing our best right now. But Colorado State wasn't a bad team, and Memphis wasn't a 5 seed. So as it pertained to that game, the writing was on the wall. We all saw what was about to happen, and it happened exactly how we thought it would. But the fun game, the game that we were all looking forward to, wasn't a showdown of players necessarily. It was a showdown of coaches. And in that showdown of coaches, we got Rick Pitino and John Calipari in the round of 32 facing off for the right to go into the Sweet 16 with their teams. And the game didn't disappoint. It was a fun game. St. John's could not shoot if their life depended on it. But at the end of the game, of course, we have controversy. We have Rick Pitino benching the Big East Player of the Year and getting asked about it. And when he asked about it, he essentially said, you answered your own question. Why would I not bench him? He wasn't making any shots. It made no sense for me to have him out there. And there was a lot of arguments with that as, like, it's the best player in the Big East. He's the best player on the team. He's going to give you the best chance to win. But honestly, Rick Pitino's been coaching so long that some of us weren't even born when he started coaching. So I think we owe him the benefit of the doubt, especially as it pertains to the St. John's team. You don't think he wants to win? Of course he wants to win. Of course he wants to be the one that brings that team to prominence. He wanted to make the Sweet 16. It wasn't like he was trying to lose. The player just didn't have it on that day. And every once in a while, you run into that where your best player just doesn't have it on that day. And this was that day for him, and it got St. John's eliminated. However, that coaching matchup was a ton of fun. And there hasn't been a lot of fun outside of, like I said, everybody not knowing what they're talking about. Listening to Charles Barkley on Max's coverage, on NCAA March Madness coverage, on whoever you're watching is hilarious because he has no idea. He knows ball, but he doesn't know the college landscape. He doesn't know the players on every team. He's making it up as he goes. He's literally just making it up as he goes, as are a majority of these folks that we have talking about the NCAA college tournament, me included. I'm kind of just making it up as I go. Like I said to start off this segment, I'm just going on vibes, and the vibes are high. Right now, as I'm talking to you, we've got UConn and Florida in halftime. And on vibes alone, I picked that game, and we'll see what happens. I'm hoping I'm right. I'm having a pretty good bracket season. I hope all of you are as well. But again, I didn't watch any UConn basketball this year. I didn't watch any Florida basketball this year. I watched some UCLA, as I do every year. I watched some Duke because of Cooper Flag. And that's really the two teams that I watch the most. Outside of that, if a game was on, I'd throw it on. But as you guys all know, out here in England, it is hard to be able to watch some of these games. A lot of these games don't even start until late in the evening over here. So to be able to watch them, I will tell you, I was up watching that BYU Wisconsin game that just destroyed me, because we're going to have to accept that BYU is going to be very good for at least another year outside of this, because in that game, they revealed the number one recruit in the nation is going to BYU. So this isn't just a 6 seed today. They could be a 1 seed tomorrow. And we're not talking about your Jimmer Fredette BYU. We're talking about a whole new squad that is able to somehow, in the NIL area, get the number one recruit in the nation to go to BYU, which is insane to me. That game was depressing, but it's on at 1 o'clock in the morning in England. 1 in the morning. So you have to stay up super late to catch the games, and it's totally worth it. Though we haven't had any crazy buzzer-beating magic, though we haven't had any games that really made you think, oh my goodness, what is going to happen? It's the NCAA March Madness tournament, and we're all having fun together. And we're sad that we can't be there with you in the United States to experience it as one, because the tournament deserves it. But it is also awesome to get to spread the joy of this tournament all over the world and to be watching from Europe this year, last year, and the year before that at 1 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to get through all of these games, catching up on our college basketball, learning who people are along with the audience right now.
Either way, I cannot have a man like that working here.
On to trying to keep myself in the news. And who is the star of trying to keep myself in the news? It is none other than geriatric superstar, brain rot, Aaron Rodgers. And there's some rumors that it's his agent floating some of the teams that might be interested in Aaron Rodgers. And as it stands right now, I think there's one team left. It's Pittsburgh. And it's looking like Aaron Rodgers will be the quarterback of Pittsburgh. We talked about this last week, but now we're starting to get a better idea of where it is that Aaron Rodgers might be going. And if I was Pittsburgh, I don't know if I'd want him. I would wait till after the draft, see the way things fall. Yeah, I guess it's such a weak quarterback class that you want him to mentor that rookie quarterback. But outside of that, it doesn't make much sense for anyone to sign him. And this is all amongst rumors that he can't even get interviewed for a fallback job because people think, just like I think, and just like Wes would always say on the show, that he's kind of an asshole. And it's never been more apparent than right now as he's trying to keep himself relevant. His first shot was the Giants. And right now, the Giants just signed Jameis Winston, which, could you imagine? Like, let's just stop for a second and imagine that quarterback locker room of Jameis Winston and Aaron Rodgers, and Jameis Winston trying to play Aaron Rodgers' Jeopardy game that he's got to play with everyone that comes into that locker room. Well, at least every quarterback. And we heard this from Brett Hundley, and we heard this from other quarterbacks that have made their way through that locker room, that he's a weird dude that has weird theories, and some of which come out in his knowledge check as far as Jeopardy is concerned with his new quarterbacks, with that quarterback room. And I just, if for anything, I want it to happen for my entertainment. and I want it to happen for all of your entertainment. I want to see Jameis Winston on the sidelines trying to hype up an Aaron Rodgers, trying to get Aaron Rodgers going, trying to eat the W, if you would, like he did while he was in Tampa. I want to see that. I need to see how that reaction will occur as it pertains to Jameis Winston and Aaron Rodgers. I feel like we're all going to be let down. I'm sad about it, but that's not going to happen. I don't think that New York is in on the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes anymore. Like I said a second ago, I think it's just going to be Pittsburgh. But that's another situation that could lead to fireworks. You've got Hayward already saying either you're a Steeler or you're not, and that should be the end of the conversation to Aaron Rodgers. You've got a really tough defense in Pittsburgh. You've got TJ Watt, who is the leader of that team as it stands. You've got two volatile wide receivers who just cannot wait to get into fistfights with shadows in DK Metcalf and George Pickens. And that would be really, really, really fun to watch. And I don't know why we're not more interested in this story. And it could be that we're fatigued with Aaron Rodgers. I know I am. But let's just stop and take a minute to think about all of those chemical reactions going off at once in one locker room, controlled by Mike Tomlin. And if you think about it, who wins that battle? I'm not talking about a fight. I'm talking about that war of wills. Is it DK Metcalf throwing his temper tantrums on the sidelines because he's not getting the ball enough? Is it George Pickens because he doesn't like that the cornerback on the other side of the ball isn't getting as many calls, or he's not getting as many calls as the cornerback, or he thinks he should be getting more calls than the cornerback? He feels like he is pass interfered every single time. And now you have Aaron Rodgers in the mix. Oh, immunized Aaron Rodgers. Oh, I've got to go on Pat McAfee, get paid $1 million every appearance to talk about nonsense for 15 minutes to 30 minutes with Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers. And you thrust him into that locker room that truly believes that if they get the right quarterback in place, they have an opportunity to make a deep playoff run. What happens? I mean, look what happened with Antonio Brown. And I guess you could say Mike Tomlin was able to keep that Antonio Brown under wraps. He was able to hide that Antonio Brown from the world. And obviously, we don't know when everything went off the rails with Antonio Brown. But would he be able to do that with a superstar the caliber of an Aaron Rodgers? And the truth is, I don't think so. I think Aaron Rodgers, one, he's won just as many Super Bowls as Mike Tomlin. Two, he has just as big a personality as Mike Tomlin does. I would love to see their records side by side. I wish I had a stat department here at TheSadFan. I don't, but I'd love to see their records side by side and see their win-loss record. See what they've been able to do, because Aaron Rodgers largely did it with mediocrity while he was in Green Bay. He was able to pull off some amazing things with a team that did not deserve to get as far as he was able to carry them, with a coach in Mike McCarthy that did not deserve to go as far as Aaron Rodgers was able to carry him. When you take a look at Mike Tomlin, the same could be said about Mike Tomlin. He's been able to get the most out of teams that perhaps did not deserve to make it as far as they have. He's been able to never have a losing season. Was in Pittsburgh maybe one losing season? When did they get Kenny Pickett? We got to think about that, right? I don't know that he's ever had a losing season while in Pittsburgh. Somehow, he always gets a team that has had a pretty solid defense for a lot of years, but has never been the best team, has never been the highlight in a very tough division. He somehow always gets that team into the playoffs. He somehow always gets that team above 500. So when it comes to a war of personalities, a war for the locker room, I think the only way that Mike Tomlin truly comes out completely unblemished, completely unbeaten, is to keep Aaron Rodgers out of that locker room and to not allow his insidious ways to infect that locker room with the disease of me, which is what Aaron Rodgers will do to every franchise he brings in. He makes it all about himself. He brings in all of the media circus attention that no team wants, especially the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he tears them down from within. I mean, for God's sakes, the Jets were a quarterback away with Zach Wilson, and they brought in Aaron Rodgers post Achilles injury, and nothing happened. In fact, it was largely the same thing to have Aaron Rodgers in that locker room, in that quarterback position, as it was to have Zach Wilson in that quarterback position at this point in time. I think it's important to acknowledge that Aaron Rodgers was great. Aaron Rodgers will go down as one of the better quarterbacks that the NFL has ever seen. But it's also important to acknowledge that he's done, and we want him all to go away. Bye-bye. All right, really quick as we get to our final subject of the day, the NBA playoff race and what is coming up in the coming days. Before the end of the month, we will see the showdown of Jimmy Butler returning to Miami to take on Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra's Miami Heat after everything that went down between those two parties in a terrible breakup. Before we get to that, we want to say, hey, Shohei, congratulations on what you were able to do in Japan. That was phenomenal to watch. It was almost on at a reasonable time on my side of the earth. So congratulations, the Dodgers. You can have the World Series trophy. It looks like you've been able to purchase it, and you will walk away with it as you had multiple All-Stars. I think Mookie Betts didn't play in that game. Freddie Freeman didn't play in that game, and you still crushed your opponent. But let's talk about the NBA playoffs before we get out of here today. And let's get into what just happened with Steph Curry. Steph Curry was injured, not this last game, but the game before, and they've already lost without him in there, which tells us he is, in fact, carrying that team. Because without Steph Curry in the lineup, they're just not the same team. And the offense, I don't think this style of offense can run through Jimmy Butler. And we saw that. Though Jimmy Butler was able to keep the momentum going against the Toronto Raptors, they couldn't beat a terrible Atlanta Hawks team, which is a sign that Steph Curry is more needed than people realize and more needed than people are willing to give him credit for. Steph Curry, even at his age, is one of the best players on the planet. Now, a couple of shows ago, we went into this, but he has been able to be the engine of this team for a very, very, very long time. And we worry. Now, he's slated to come back against the Miami Heat. But we worry that without him, this team is just not going to be able to compete at the level it needs to. And in order for this team to make a long run, a deep run, the best thing they can do is avoid extra games, right? These are legs that have been to 8 championships. These are players that play very, very hard when they're out there, to include Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler. So their best route, with a couple of folks that are past the age of 35, is to play less games. They need to win right now, and they're holding down that 6th spot. They have the 6th seed, but without Steph Curry, they need to find a way to win, and then they need to find a way to run that offense without him. Because what if this happens in the playoff? What if Steph Curry needs rest? You can't run him over, and then you do, by some act of God, make it to the championship, and he's not available because his legs are spent. You've got to figure out this offense without Steph Curry, and right now it is the golden opportunity to see what you're able to do with Draymond Green, with these young players, Moses Moody and the likes, and Jimmy Butler, and see what is possible, and then know that you have a plan, know that you are secure going into these playoffs, but stay away from that play-in game. Ultimately, that would be the downfall of the Warriors. I will say this. I do not trust the Houston Rockets. I've said this every single week, and I do not trust the Memphis Grizzlies to be a power that is terrifying. Lakers can be scary. They've got 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA, top 10 players in the NBA. LeBron James is aged, but he's still LeBron James. But that's it for the West. Right now, the East is going to be locked up with Cleveland and Boston both locking in their spots. They're in the playoffs, and these are 2 of the best teams in the entire NBA, 2 of the best teams we've seen all season long. Oklahoma City Thunder being the only team that really rivals those 2 teams. Outside of those teams, it's a loser's bracket. Like I said, Giannis can still do something. He's still Giannis Antetokounmpo. But then Indiana, I said, watch out for Indiana. If you go back and listen to 2 weeks ago, I said, watch out for Halliburton and Indiana, and they are now the 4 seed. in the East. So that it's said and done. It really is. But it will be fun to watch those middle seeds fight out for the right to lose to Cleveland or Boston in the NBA playoffs. Thank you so much for joining us each and every week and supporting the program. We truly do appreciate it. And we're going to bring you new spins on content. We're going to bring you new spins on sports. And we're going to bring you new segments that are going to keep this exciting. Thanks so much. And we'll see you next week.
Back to the block. Back in the shop. Get it off a dummy.